Hello everyone, welcome to this last session of the certificate course, which would be focusing on the career options and career counseling. Now you see in this particular certificate course, we looked into various issues under the Companies Act 2013. We also saw as to how one can actually make a career out of these corporate litigations, something which is now known as corporate practice, as to how one can practice uh, before NCLT and CLAT, Competition Commission of India. So you see, these are the new quasi-judicial forums. And today in this particular video lecture, I'll be discussing about the various career options that one can go for. Now you see, although this particular certificate course from into the legal world focuses specially and majorly on the procedural aspect of corporate litigation by covering three most important legislation, the first one being Companies Act, the second one being your Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, and the third one being your Competition Act. But you see, the core idea with which this course was launched perhaps is that the young aspirants, not only in the field of law, but young aspirants who also want to create a career in fields of accountancy, in field of cost accountancy, so they could also perhaps try their hands in this litigation on corporate matters. So you see, let's talk about as to what are the other essential requirement or most fundamental requirements that one must necessarily have, or rather should fulfill, before they would want to carve out a flourishing career for themselves in this particular field. So the first thing that we must all have before we decide on to test ourselves in corporate litigation is a very good and thorough substantive knowledge of the provisions, case laws, and also on top of it, and as I already have mentioned, the procedural knowledge. So you see, these three requisites must essentially be fulfilled before anyone wants to try himself or herself or try his mettle in this particular area. Various career options in corporate field, they range from starting corporate practice, taking up a job at academia, or opening up an joining some institution such as into the legal world, or perhaps even try your hand at various positions which are being offered by ministries like MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, institutions like Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, and other various stakeholders. So you see, these are various options which are available to a person who has an orientation with respect to corporate laws, who has a liking of corporate laws, and perhaps wants to also to build a career in this particular area. Now, apart from the obvious papers, now let's talk about certain competitive examinations that one can also sit and appear for after having gone through this particular certificate course, as well as someone who has been a student of corporate laws. So the first examination that comes to my mind is, obviously, you see, examinations which are conducted by regulatory bodies such as SEBI. So SEBI generally comes out in the month of January to March. It comes out with vacancies on legal officers. Now these are highly specialized positions, and they also carry very good remuneration package and other facilities for those people who would be able to crack these examinations. Now the competition the examination, this examination that I'm talking of is an MCQ based SEBI Act and SEBI regulations such as LODR, ICDR regulations, and SAST takeover code. Apart from SEBI, you see, the other ministry perhaps that one can look to find a job for is the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Now, interestingly, Ministry of Corporate Affairs for the past 3 years has been continuously making public advertisements with respect to legal officers. Now, that's a very lucrative position, and therefore one must definitely apply to that position as well. Apart from Ministry of Corporate Affairs, we also have another institution, an undertaking or perhaps an arm of the ministry itself. This is Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, located in Manesar, Gurgaon. Now you see, this Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs is an educational arm of Ministry of Corporate Affairs as well as a research think tank. So you see, this particular institute has several schools to it. Now, there is a school of corporate governance, there is a school of independent directors, a school of competition law, which is headed by very expert faculties in that particular domain area. So now, not only internships, this particular institute offers positions such as research associates, offers position of professors, assistant professor, as well as associate professors, and perhaps you see one who has a liking and an inclination towards corporate laws can perhaps also apply for many other positions such as teaching assistants and research associates, which are continuously offered by this particular institute over the year. Now, apart from IACA, you see the third institution is Competition Commission of India. The Competition Commission of India, as of now, regularly every 6 months it comes out with an advertisement for online internships. Although these internships are not heavily paid, and a small remuneration ranging between 5,000 to 10,000 rupees is offered to the trainees, but you see it goes a long way in helping people in understanding the enforcement mechanism of Competition Act in India. So I would say that this is something which must not be missed by those people, certainly by people, those who are at the very early stage of their education. Let's say someone who is in the first year or second year of their either LLB course, or someone who is at the initial stage of their chartered accountancy course. So therefore, you see, apart from Competition Commission of India, the other regulatory body that we have focused on is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. Now over here, you see there are many opportunities, and the biggest opportunity is with respect to becoming an insolvency professional. Now, as of now, the insolvency professional, that particular position requires a qualification as well as an experience of minimum 10 years. So definitely you see that this position is not open for someone who's at the early stage of their career. But if anyone would want to make a career in this particular area, I would advise that they better start preparing from now on. Because you see, it's very important that you have requisite experience and you have enough and sufficient exposure in these areas of insolvency and bankruptcy. Now, apart from the position that is being offered, that can be offered or that can be taken up at the IBBI, there are several other policy think tanks and research institutes which also offer positions on these legislations. And I would like to name a few institutions, these research institutes, which are very reputed, have made a name for themselves, and therefore several opportunities are being offered at these places, and they must be explored by our aspirants. Now, the first institution, a research think tank which comes to my mind is Vidhi. So you see, Vidhi Legal Policy Group is a think tank, a research-based think tank based in Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, and other cities. And although it does not offer a very lucrative package, but certainly you see, it is a policy think tank which has come to play a major role in the implementation as well as at the stage of the formulation of policies on insolvency, bankruptcy code, MCA amendments, as well as Competition Commission of India amendments. So you see, Competition Acts amendments and all of these legislation drafting procedures are also undertaken by this particular institute. Apart from it, the another institute that comes to my mind is CPLR. Now, CPLR is also a Delhi-based research policy think tank, and which also offers multiple positions, just as like your research associates, research trainees, internships. And apart from it, one could also look out for opportunities which are being offered by educational institutions such as NLU Delhi, NLU Jodhpur, and other institution of eminence. Now you see, these are several opportunities, but before anyone makes up their mind to apply and test their mettle in these areas, I would certainly would want to give a piece of an advice, and that advice would be that before you take up any of these researches, any of these positions, I would certainly advise you that one should be thorough with their substantive knowledge. Perhaps one should always try and spend at least a month in corporate litigation before taking up any of these positions. Not only would it help in the shorter run, but also it would help boost your confidence when it comes to taking up any of these jobs that I've discussed with you. I wish you all the best, and thank you so much.